Hello, beautiful people. Psychic Debbie here. Hope you're having a great evening, afternoon, or morning whenever you're watching us. And we're having beautiful, beautiful Samantha Jane joining us. Hi, Samantha. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Debbie. Thanks for having me.
She's a couple hours away from us, so she might be a little tired after having a big day. And I had a big day today too, so I hope everybody's day was wonderful. We're going to, I'm going to do some questions to Samantha, and a lot of people are joining us. Thank you, all my, people that usually watch me. Thank you for joining on and seeing a great person that I met like a year ago. Wasn't it a year ago that we met?
Yeah.
So it just a wonderful story. So Samantha, why don't you tell us about you?
Well, first of all, up until very recently, I was not a practicing medium. I actually went out of my way to hide it. I worked in finance for over 30 years. I owned my own agency and worked in compliance. And it came to the point that I was actually, when I'd go to clients, I would start talking word for word about what either them or a friend of theirs had been saying, maybe on the phone or something 10 minutes before I got there. So Spirit was making it so clear that I was no longer going to be able to do my regular job. And things started speeding up. I started getting, it was something I could hide before, but it just bottom line became something that I couldn't hide anymore. And so I left the business. But before I was doing that, they were making some great offers to me because I'd always been a good worker. And they were like, okay, well, we want to sell your business. You want to sort of lay back a bit. But they were making other offers to me. And so I called you because the people on the other side who were telling me this story about what was going to happen, I found it just unbelievable. I was like, I know I've seen this before, and then I watch it happen, come true. You know what it's like your whole life being a medium, right? But it was about me, and I just couldn't believe it. And then they said to me to call you, and I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who any mediums were, right? I looked on the internet and I looked through a whole bunch of mediums, but they were very clear that I was to call you, and they said that they would tell you exactly what they told me. And then that's how I would know that all this craziness was going to come true. And just in a nutshell, that I was going to be working in cryptocurrencies as a medium, which is highly unusual. I mean, it's like pit gambling or something. It's like, yeah. You're not allowed to use your gift for that, right? But again, it's something that's going to change the world. And they showed me that I was going to be key in that, in helping people, because a lot of people were sort of being driven off of the cliff with cryptos by getting into the wrong things, getting wallets where stuff gets stolen and so on and so forth. But I just didn't believe what I was supposed to do until I called you. And you just really, and another thing you said was that I was going to be teaching the mediums. And that's like literally what's happening now, where the YouTube channel that I have teaches people about cryptocurrencies, but what you predicted came true, because people started joining my Patreon and my Discord channel, and they were like, I was drawn to you as soon as I saw, like I had to know, what this was all about, but they end up having gifts.
Right. So that's what's wonderful. But with your gift, with the cryptocurrency, I think it's wonderful because you're female, so that gives the female kind of comfortable to go in that area too. A lot of us females, I'm not saying that we're not powerful or independent, because we got two of them right here, but sometimes we're in a little bit of fear. Do you know what I mean? And we don't know if the guy is like telling us the truth or not. So I'm sure a lot of women are probably gravitating to you. I know a bunch of men will. First of all, because you're gorgeous looking, they're probably like, "Hey, how's she doing?" But but on the side of that, they'll be like, the feminine vibrations have the balance. I don't really like to use the word balance, but to be having the connection so that we know that we can receive is a feminine vibration. So with you being there, I think that helps a lot of people, male or female.
Well, one of the things that you were very consistent about, and I understand it now, because a lot of times at the end of a reading, I will circle back and I will, where you sort of reiterate to the person, because you know how important it is that they follow that right. When you tell them something and then you circle back and go, remember, I said, and you were talking about anonymity, and you said, they're saying, I mean it, you can't tell people where you're at, right? Like I'm that good that people will literally show up on my doorstep,
Yeah.
and then it'll distract me from my assignment, which is in particular to help people in this realm, but also to find the mediums and to train them, because so many people are saying that since they joined my channel, that they're actually getting a lot of signs and wonders. I just got another message from someone today saying, this sounds crazy, but, and I'm like, yeah, I've been hearing this. But another thing that I was told is that these people who have extra sense, like they're like you, but they have no idea they're like you and me.
Right.
And so now they're getting trained and learning how to do this so they can help more people, because I mean, you're very limited how many people you can help. I mean, thank God you have a YouTube channel, so
right.
at least you can do it in that realm. But
right.
I mean, as far as doing the one-on-one readings, which are a totally different thing.
Yeah, I'm doing it worldwide, Yeah. I mean, I need one of those boards where it's like, I've done readings from all these places. A lot of it would be filled, but excuse me, I want to get into the space where I'm doing lectures and thousands of people are sitting in front of me. You know what I mean? I've done lectures where there was quite a few hundred people, probably about 300, and I'm in my element when I'm doing that. I love being in that space. So we got a couple comments here. Female energy toward finances is always great, they said, And so when you were saying you heard about me, someone says they heard about me through channeling Eric. So people are saying, good evening. Hi, Debbie and Samantha. So Angel, you're saying, how can I get an email to you, please? Are you asking for Samantha or are you asking for Debbie? So I don't know, Samantha, if you want to give them your email or how to get a contact with you. You can give them your information.
I do have an email that I share with my booking agent. She has my schedule, and it's SamanthaJaneJames@mail.com.
Okay. And mine is just to email me is photopsychicdebbie@gmail.com, or just go to my website, psychicdebbie.com. It's real easy. So someone asked, what is cryptocurrency? Good question. So can you explain that to us?
Well, cryptocurrency, just in a nutshell, is a trustless form of transactions. So you can be doing a number of things. What people are more familiar with in cryptocurrencies is Bitcoin, but there are actually over 2,000 cryptocurrencies listed on CoinMarketCap. Yeah, there's over 2,000. And you have cryptocurrencies that you probably have never heard of. Like there's one called PayPi out of Vancouver. And the research I did on that one, number one, I liked it because it's located in a Western country. And that means that the government will come and get them if they rip people off. So that's very important. A lot of people are saying cryptocurrencies are unsafe, but it depends on, who you're buying them from. But this is an organization that set up blockchain accounting on the blockchain. And they're they're partnering with Grant Thornton. They have partnerships with QuickBooks. It's really expanding. And it's just a lot of technology that people haven't heard of that is over and above the actual transition of money. But just to put it in a nutshell, if you wanted to send money right now, let's say I wanted to send $5,000 US to my friend in New York City, it would cost me just at least $35 basic, plus another like $30 or $40, because they charge you a minimum. So even if you want to send $1,000, it would be like $35. Instead of doing that, I mean, I can transfer funds for just pennies in the cryptocurrency realm.
Okay. So, I mean, someone says here, cryptocurrency is basically internet money. Do you agree with that?
I partially agree with that. It's more of a technology. So you have to think more along the lines of, even loyalty points can be kept track of on the blockchain. The main thing to remember is that it's kept track on a ledger you can't change this ledger. So a big problem in the financial services industry is that there is a lot of people just don't trust them anymore because they change things, backroom deals. On the blockchain, everything's transparent. Like for example, you could put your tax dollars on the blockchain so that every penny that's paid in taxes, you can actually look and see which wallets the money went to pay what bills for your municipality. So you know exactly where your money's going on the blockchain, and it's a public ledger. So you just go on the website and it doesn't identify like who, like the bank account it went into, but it has the wallet address. So you can look it up. And so that way there, when people are like talking about, you know, the mafia and money laundering and Bitcoin being dark money and that kind of thing, I'm like, you know what's dark money is cash. That's what it is. I mean, at least the money that was hacked off of Binance, they even know where it's going. Like they're watching the wallets it's moving into. So at some point they can get these people who hacked into Binance and stole like $40 million in cryptocurrencies. But in the meantime, Binance is backing it up. They're reimbursing people. And it's also a great way to chase that money. Whereas cash, I mean, it would be in the wind. So I hope that my few examples maybe made it a little bit clearer that cryptocurrency is a new technology, and some industries it will change more than others. Like the postal industry was changed forever by email and the internet, wasn't it? Right. So cryptocurrencies will change the world of finance probably the most. Also very high up in the list is, as I mentioned, accounting. It's also going to change the legal world quite a bit, because smart contracts that amend themselves. You've probably heard about that you've heard of Ethereum maybe. They have smart contracts that you pre-write or pre-program. So it's this whole huge world opening up to us, and it's going to change the world, because most of all, it's going to lift people out of poverty. Because with this cell phone, you notice most people in the third world, they just went from, they skipped the landlines and they went right to cell phones. So the thing about cryptocurrencies is that you have someone who can't have a bank account or doesn't have access to a bank account, but now they can exchange in funds. Because, you know, if you're if you're up in the Himalayas, you know, buying some knitted hats from the local village there, they just their phone and you go, what cryptocurrencies do you take, right? And then they tap your phone and you transfer it, and away you go.
Fantastic. So someone is asking, so here's a couple of questions. Is it like shares?
Yes, it's like you own, it's, I don't want to get too complicated for people, but yes, there are a limited number of these coins and tokens depending on which one you're getting involved in. And obviously, the more in demand they are, the price of them goes up significantly. Like EOS, for example, is a big one. And in 2017, most of us picked it up for under $1. And just in the last month, it's been running at between $6 and $8.
So it is kind of like a stock share kind of thing.
Yeah, because there's a limited number that are in play at one time. So you have to go with whatever the market price is for that.
So here's another question. You kind of answered it. What is the benefits to it having it versus paper money?
Well, the problem with paper money is that, especially if you end up being in a country where it's going down in flames, like as far as the money goes, like imagine working in Zimbabwe or in Venezuela, and even Brazil and Argentina go through this as well, the hyperinflation. And so what happens is that your money loses value because they're printing more money. They're not living within their means. The governments their money becomes worthless because they just spend and do unproductive things with it. And then they go and print more money. So your actual money becomes worth nothing. So at least cryptocurrencies, you can freely move it. It's more similar to owning something like gold. Oh,
okay. Gold and silver. All right. Because I mean, I get a lot of people that when they do readings, they ask me about gold and silver a lot, and they're usually connected to cryptos. And I'm not the queen. She's the queen, not me. But on the crypto, you know, I can tell you basic, you know, when you ask me a question, then I hear the truth or not of the truth of it. But I'm not, I don't know. It's hard to explain to me or explain to you how I work with that. It's really weird. It's because it's kind of like I can't put it in front of me and say, oh, I'm going to buy this, this, and this because I know it's going to get so big. But if I have you or someone else ask me for them, will it get bigger or shorter? Then I can. So it's really weird because it's the vibration of the person, not the vibration of the crypto coin. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I actually, when I'm doing readings, I actually can guess sometimes, and it's if there's a purpose for it, I can actually guess what they have in their portfolio. Or like one person, she asked me, she was like, and I don't always get this, she goes, how much, you know, is it going to be worth when I pull it all out? And I was just like, and I said, 1.3 million US dollars. And then she was disappointed with that number, right? And I didn't know how much she had in at all. Like I had no clue any more than you would have with me here talking to you how much I have in cryptos right now. And the people on the other side said to me, but that's 100 times what she has. And I told her that, and it's all documented on the Discord because we were having a conversation on Discord.
Right.
This is one of the psychic people, but she, again, you know, you can't really see, a lot of psychics can't see their own information. So,
Right.
but anyway, so it's almost like a math thing like that where, you know, or even another guy, I was like, I didn't know that he didn't have EOS in his portfolio. And then I asked him, I said, do you have any EOS? And he goes, no. And I said, they're telling me you're going to be really sad that you don't have any. I said, and this is when it was like $5. Okay. And, I said, why is that? And he goes, because I used to have 12,000 EOS and then I sold it off at $12, right? When the market was high. So they tell me this stuff. So they were like basically saying, get some more. Right. But the thing is that I give them information that there's no way that I would know. Like, how would I know that? Because really you wouldn't care particularly about EOS unless you owned it at one point. Right. Sold it off at $12 and then now it's like, I don't even know, right? Like
exactly. So you can cash it out then. You're saying you can cash it out.
Yeah, this guy had cashed it all out.
Okay.
And so how do you buy it anymore to replace it?
Do you go to a bank or how do you cash it out?
You get it out from the bank. When I sent my money into the crypto sphere, I did it through Gemini Trust Company in New York City because it is licensed and insured. I did my research. And that's how I know how much money it costs to wire. Because I was like, oh man, I am so glad once I sort of would springboard into crypto land, I was literally transferring funds for like pennies a transaction. Gotcha. And it was like within, you know, I mean, Bitcoin, I was like, oh man, that Bitcoin, that takes like an hour and Ethereum would take me like 10 minutes or Doge takes like 30 seconds or something. I mean, it's amazing.
Right. Well, see, that's what's really, really cool about this is we're going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit more on the show here about psychics and mediums and, you know, true ones and whatever. But so that tells you that you're connected to me, that it kind of shows it to me like a radio, like you're on that channel of cryptocurrency. Yeah. Like me, I'm very channeled into finding missing people or finding your blockages or health things or things like that. I feel like certain people, we're attuned to a certain frequency or vibration where we're good at. Can I give you information on that? Yes. Am I the best at it? Am I in the confidence of it? Probably not. You are. I'm not. But I'm in the confidence of, I know that person is alive or not alive, or yeah, I know that person murdered him or they didn't murder him. I can be very in the confidence of that, right? So I don't know if there's one that you would want to tell people to connect to or buy. That's up to you.
Well, with my group, I call them it's called the Quick Like a Bunny or the Q Lab list. And it became sort of a little joke with the group where I would talk about a coin and then it would go up and it would be like in a flat market and this coin would go up like 30%. and then remember there's 2,000. Okay.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So on a live stream, you know, talking to them or in the Discord room, and I would talk to them about it and then it would go up. So it sort of became a little bit of a joke, but we have our list of favorites and they're like stellar lumens, or I think it just goes by stellar now. I'm old school, stellar lumens. And ADA, or also known as Cardano, Tezos, and Bash. XRP is a really big one that I just backed up and loaded the boat at 30 cents because that's going to be a really big one. That's the one I think, like I keep seeing the banks being the ones, like once we have easy access to the entire world, it's going to be so much easier for people to get into cryptocurrencies, because I do think that Deutsche Bank is going to collapse. I've been watching it for quite a while. And I do see that as a trigger point for the calamity that's coming in the financial
And
industry.
you see that in the fall? Because I see that in the
Yes,
fall.
I do. I had somebody ask me in January, and I told everybody that the cryptos were going to start to run on April 1st. And I also picked May 11th for the big, I knew there was going to be a big increase in cryptos, and it was going to be on May 11th. And that was in collaboration with Aura Wright. I don't know if you saw that video or not on my channel, but
No,
she literally emailed me and wanted to meet like this. And then she said something about May 11th. And you know, when people write stuff to you and you're like, oh my God, that's so true. Like you know that you get a knowing,
right.
And then you have to do action, right? So that's what, and then I emailed her and I was like, we have to plan this right away so that people will have enough time to get ready for May 11th, right? And sure enough, May 11th at the top blew off cryptos again. And so I'm seeing that there's going to be a calamity in the financial markets. And what's going to happen is things like gold, people are going to seek safety in gold, but they're not going to be able to get it. So what's the backup? Cryptocurrencies, because as long as you have internet, eventually, wherever you're at,
right.
You can literally, like I can go and sell all of my gold when I need to, and then I can just put it into cryptocurrencies, because I would just send the cash to Gemini, which then I would buy like whatever their choice of cryptos are. Like they have Bitcoin, Ethereum, a few others. Like I jumped into the crypto market a long time ago when they only really had Bitcoin and Ethereum to buy. But as long as you had one of those two, then you could buy anything else. You would just have to go to that exchange, send it to the exchange, you know, your Bitcoin for Tezos, for example.
I'm like, no idea.
Yeah, but that's what we talk about on the channel. We talk about that, and more importantly, we talk about ways to not get ripped off. Like, oh, I have a great story to tell you, and this is a psychic story. And I told my husband. So my husband, and he's very supportive of me, but he's a bit like your husband, where they definitely keep us grounded, right?
Yeah.
They're just as, you know, they're not woo woo at all, right?
Yeah, no.
So one night, and I just saw it, and I said, honey, I think you're going to go to one of those Bitcoin conferences with me, because I see, my husband's in IT, by the way. That's what he has been doing for a living for a good part of his life. So I said to him, I see John McAfee coming over and talking to you. Do you know who John McAfee is?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the McAfee. Anyways, so I said, he's talking to you, but he's looking over at me. I said, it's like he's interested in having me work for him. I said, and it's going to be a good thing. I said, but boy, I said, wouldn't that be interesting? Well, just about a month later, I was approached by BitFi Wallet. Now, guess who was the rep before me? John McAfee.
See? I love how the universe works. Isn't it crazy how the universe works?
Well, I wouldn't know what a BitFi wallet was. To look at it, you'd show it to me, and I would be like, "Oh, what's that? A miniature iPhone or something in a case?" You know, I wouldn't have had any idea. But as soon as they said John McAfee, I said, "Oh, this is one of the things I got to do."
That this is what you got to go. This is what you got to do. So some people are asking about, what about cannabis crypto?
No. With the ones that the developers are like, they're talking like Potcoin, and
I think they're trying to find a good cannabis hybrid. She calls me Sweet D, and I'm saying hi. And I think there's a person that's saying hi, Sam a Jammer here. So I don't know if you know who that is, but they're saying hi to you. They're using a different name. So you're saying no, that there isn't a good one, or there is a good one, or it hasn't come out yet?
Yeah, I wouldn't bother with any of those right now. I would stick to ones that are in the top 20, because what I see happening is, when I see institutional money coming in, they're not going to be looking for the coin that's like number 800 out of 2000. They're going to look for the ones, they're going to look for the Amazons and the Facebooks and do you know what I mean? Early days. They want the winning horses. And most of them are in the top 20, definitely within the top 50. There's a few dark horses, like I bought into some ICOs, which stand for initial coin offering. And those have, like, PayPal and Insular have started to make some moves now. But those you go into with a different attitude, where you're looking at between 2 to 4 years before you would even look at, because they're just in the developmental stage. But that's when you get them, super cheap. I mean, people bought, Omisi Go for 10 cents and it went as high as, I don't know, $60, something like that.
Oh, wow. So that's good.
Yeah. Oh no, millionaires were made overnight, and there's a big lift coming, and it's going to be one of the largest transfers of wealth that humankind has ever seen. And a big part of that is going to be into the cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so do you see a rise in June this month? We're in June. So do you see a rise this month?
Yeah, one of the things that when I had my live stream on June 2nd, I had it my All Tiers live stream, and I actually ended up posting it on YouTube because I wanted to let everybody know that June was going to be a sharper month of declines and increases. So, I had said for April that there would just be, if it goes up 3 or 4%, it might go down 2%, or if it goes, but then it'll go up 6 or 7%. But there was going to be wider swings in June, but we are going to end up on the upside. So just don't panic, but wide swings. So my advice there is to try not to buy on an upswing. Like if Tezos swings up to like $1.50, the bottom of it is usually $1.25. So maybe try to catch it at $1.30, because it's not normally touching the bottom again. Do you know what I mean? It's like scared. Yeah. So, but June is I said that it was going to be wider swinging, but that at the end of June, we were going to end on the upside.
Right. So I'm seeing that it goes up in August. Let me see. They're showing me August, the end of August, beginning of September is the time that I feel like it's going to go up, and then it's going to drop really fast in September-ish kind of time. But I'm not seeing that it's going to, go rock bottom. I feel like it's more the cash. And then it will get really big in the springtime of next year of 2020. So I don't know. Does that look like that to you?
Yeah. 2 years ago, when I started buying, or more, when was it? It was in September of 2017 is when I bought the majority of my cryptos. And the market, it was during the time that the market was around 100 billion, right? The market right now is about 260 billion.
Wow.
So it went up very quickly to 800 billion, and then it recorrected down, which I think is a great opportunity for people to get back in. But I said right from the beginning that I would be holding everything until September of 2019. And I said, I did not know. I saw myself sitting down and I would be making some changes to my portfolio. And I'm telling people that I'm, in all likelihood, I'm going to be selling off some because I got in so early. I have like literally hundreds and thousands of coins and tokens that are worth a lot. And those people who have a lot, you have a responsibility to release those into the community so that people can also get in to the project and support it, right? So that, and I do see that there would be a correction that would be sharp in when the financial markets crash. But I tell people, don't panic. It's very short because it's only because margins are being called, right? And the only place people can get cash quickly when they're panicking is their cryptos.
Right.
They can't sell their house. They, maybe can't get that gold because it's in a safe at their aunt's house or something, right? To get the money in, and the bank's calling them, or they're gonna liquidate the shares in, Amazon or Facebook or whatever it is, Coca-Cola, whatever they own. And so that's why I see that people will very quickly come in and start picking up those cryptos as banks fall apart and financial institutions go down and they can't get their hands on gold or silver. And so I did see in April, like I didn't see myself getting out of the market. I saw myself taking some profit and releasing coins out to the community. And people were saying, well, is it because you see cryptos going way down? And I'm like, no. In fact, 2020 is probably going to be the largest year for cryptos. Like if you think August is going to be good, you ain't seen nothing yet, right? I'm just doing my due diligence to reduce and to spread out the wealth as people join, and then let them get Dogecoin at $1, even though it's going to go to $5, right?
Yeah. So do you think, is this a good time to buy, or should we wait? Should we wait another what's a good time to buy? Do you think now is a good time to buy, or should we wait, or June,
No,
July, August, or wait a couple of
yeah,
years, or wait
no,
next year?
now is a good time to buy. January was the best time to buy. That was the perfect time to buy, was in January.
Okay.
But now is better because, again, the end of June, it's still going to end up on an upside. And I do see that there might be, like, for a week in August, there's going to be some declines, but
Yeah.
it's like it comes roaring back at the end of August, and then it just goes more. Like, I'm just seeing the story of it. And I'm not someone who trades. I don't trade in cryptos. I don't want people to get that impression. Like I said, I bought in and I was told I would be holding them until September of 2019.
19.
Yeah.
Right. So people want to know what your YouTube channel is.
It's just Samantha Jane. So if you go on YouTube and you put Samantha Jane, crypto psychic, then you'll find my channel. I know there's a lady who does makeup or something like that, and her name is Samantha Jane.
It's a common name. Okay. So, so someone says, can you recommend one for $1?
Oh, for $1. Well, one of the lesser
Because
expensive ones.
some of them aren't even $1. Some of them are cheaper than that, right?
Yeah, like I would right now, like this moment in time, I would be seriously looking at XRP because that's probably good. That's really the one that's going to announce the bull run, because people are still in denial that we're in a bull market, and we have been.
It's funny because someone else put down XRP right after that. So, okay, so let's, I kind of want to do a half and half. So what would be a final statement that you would want to talk about with crypto to people? What is it that you want them to know?
I want them to know that it's coming, and it's going to be worldwide, and it's going to change the world, and it's going to be part of what saves the world too, so that when the financial system crumbles, this will replace it. And since it's trustless, since mankind has already proven that they can't be trusted with people's money, right? Because men and women, like, we're too corruptible. Right. I mean, I may not be, but the next person coming through may be. It just relies too much on the honesty of humans, the financial system, and the crony capitalism, right? Whereas blockchain, that makes all that go away. And the developers, I feel as well that they're incorruptible. Like, they have a strong belief in it, so that they're going to do right by people as well.
So you would go through blockchain, that's what you're saying, and then buying it through that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm saying that you should do some research first. So go over to my channel and take a look at some of my videos that are there that talk about, like, especially the early days, I talk about details to do with cryptocurrencies and how to buy them. And it is blockchain technology. So that's my recommendation to everybody is to, get in as soon as you can and just start with maybe just the top 10.
And so how much do you think someone would, $500, $100, $1,000?
Now, I did tell some people who were looking at only putting in $1,000, and I explained to him, I said, every time I sent money over to Gemini to sort of springboard into cryptos, and see, I'm really cheap on fees. So I would make sure I had like 10 or 20,000 to send over, or 5,000.
Yeah, but most of us don't have that. So
yeah, well, I guess if you're I was taking my savings though and putting it in because I was retired. So I had to figure out where to put everything. But if you only have a small amount, I would get together about $1,000. And it's because, to wire that money, to get it into the account, or to find a place to get it in as far as fees go. And then once you get in and you're buying your cryptos, then it's really cheap. And then you can just buy and hold them. But, I would try to get in as soon as possible. And the first step is to do some research over the internet on YouTube, and also recognize that some people on YouTube are paid to represent a crypto or something like that.
Gotcha.
So you have to make sure that you buyer beware kind of thing. I'm supported by my Patreons. I have a Patreon page, and that means that all of my content over on YouTube is provided for free. And I also make sure that I'm not tainted, to move people towards any particular crypto. I just call it as I see them.
Right, right. So someone says they're from New Zealand. Hello, Kiwi. I'm a Kiwi too. So hi from New Zealand. So how can we get it? It's the same, probably the same, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I springboard into cryptos, outside of my own country. I just wired the money, but they want to know your local bank account. So when I'm cashing in cryptos, what I would do is, sell it, whatever crypto I have, turn it into Bitcoin, and then send it over to my Bitcoin wallet at Gemini. And then I can transfer my Bitcoin into US dollars, and then they'll actually send me a check. But they'll only transfer it into the account that I have registered with them. And that's this whole KYC, know your client, and that sort of thing. So that's basically how the process goes. You don't even have to have a bank in your country that's willing to do business.
Oh, gotcha.
You can find one outside of, like, I get in back in 2017. So I was not aware, or there was no setup in my country that I was willing to do business with.
Okay.
So I did my research and I found Gemini, and okay, they're insured. I'm going to do business there. I was very careful about it because, this isn't money that I can get back and start all over again. I'm an older gal, so I have to be careful.
Same here, same here. So, what dictates the value?
It's very much the same as the stock market, in the sense that, it all depends on whether or not there's a demand for it. But the other thing too is the usage and the popularity. So that's why I think, like, the financial coins are going to go first, because so many people are on the move all over the world. And, it breaks my heart to hear how hard people work, and they are sending like $100 home, and they got to pay 30% of that in fees because it's such a small amount of money. And cryptocurrencies are just really going to help so many more people keep the money in their pocket.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of times, I mean, a lot of us are in fear. Do you know what I mean? Because, I mean, the 2008, we lost a lot of money from the stock market crash. And so I can see people, because it's going to happen again. I don't think it's going to be because of the real estate. I think it's because of, like, China and all this other stuff that's going on. I also, here's predictions for me. I'm predicting that that's why August, September, October, this fall, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm seeing some massive storms happening in North and South Carolina and Florida, and going up into Louisiana. Or one of my predictions have already came true. I mean, I've had probably about 10 or 12 predictions of my 2019 predictions have come true already. And one of them was Texas and Louisiana was going to be really flooded, which we've been having a lot of flooding. And I'm sorry to say, I keep on seeing a storm going up and hitting that, and it's going to get worse. And so that's going to hit the economy of all these storms and all the flooding and having to give money to these states. So, and then I feel like there's going to be a fallout with China and trade and all that stuff. And they're going to try to fix it really right away, because next year's election for us state people. So that's why I'm seeing there's going to be a lot of that kind of discombobulated stuff going on in the fall. I hope I'm wrong, but it's going towards that way already. So, but it can change. It can change. Do you know what I mean? It can change. So, like you said, I feel that a lot of people might with the money in the fall, but I do see it with the cryptos going up, because, like you said, they will be connected to that more. That's going to make the people go to the cryptos more. And then I'm also seeing the spring of 2020, and I don't know why quite yet.
Yeah.
Do you see April?
Yeah, I was getting April.
Yeah, March, April. And why do you think that?
It's almost like I almost see it like a wave.
Yeah.
It's the announcements. It's all of the contracts being signed, and it's the advancement of the technology, and it's being put to use. Like when you start going to the bank and you get XRP and you start using it, and you pay, like, fee is one XRP. That's why I said to somebody, I think it's going to be worth $10, like lickety split, because they're going to want, if your fee is 1 XRP, then the banking, they know they're going to get $10 for, transferring this money. Because
Right.
again, things are going to become a lot less expensive for sure. But I'm not too concerned about, the downturn coming. I do see like the financial collapse of the stock markets, but, Wall Street and Main Street is not connected in the United States as much as you might think. Like I see that changing a lot. And I'm actually very positive about America and any countries that are closely attached to America, because America is going to win the trade war. Like, oh my gosh, Donald Trump, he is just kicking it in all directions. What a fighter he is for America. You guys are so lucky. Myself and another medium, we both saw what would have happened to you guys if you hadn't elected him as your president. And holy smokes, I mean, you guys are you're going to just prosper like crazy. And yeah, those bad storms are coming, but but Debbie, I think that's a part of the Great Lakes someday emptying into the Gulf of Mexico. Like I think a lot of that land along the Mississippi River, like all along that area, I think it's just a natural progression. And somebody told me that Edgar Cayce had predicted that in his trances and stuff.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, they told me. They said, when I told somebody that, I said, that's what I see. And I mean, that a lot of that stuff is, kicked off by those massive storms that you're talking about because of what it does to the land and to the water flows. And it just changes things so permanently and so quickly.
Right. I just feel a lot of people are saying Texas, yay. And one person said $13.1 billion for the disasters already or something like that. But so it's crazy. That's what I'm saying with the money thing. But I just feel that the storms that are coming up for the states, it's going to have a major, of course, it's going to have a major effect on all around things, all around. I feel, to me, it's kind of like, because you got to figure it's the 90th year of the crash of 1929.
Yes.
It's, it's Normandy. It was the 75th. I mean, this year, the numbering thing, and I'm not all into the numbers. I'm not like know it all on the numbers, but there's so many anniversaries: going to the moon, Normandy, the crash. I mean, there's just so many, even OJ, 25 years after OJ. I mean, just all these things, this number for the year, it's not going to be just a calm year. It's not going to be just a calm year. It's already, the heat in the West here, which I predicted, and I was thinking it was more of this in spring, but we're having massive heat here. But then you're having the flood in the East. You know what I mean? It's just crazy how all the things are going on here. Also, worldwide, there's all these things that are going on. I still see a little bit of the terrorism going in Europe again. Still, I'm seeing that. So, and I think that's going to affect everything.
Yeah. Do you see civil war in Europe?
Do I see civil war? I don't know if you would see. This is my spirits. When people have gotten readings from me, they know they can be very triple A personality, and so they're going to say it's not going to be a civil war, but it's going to be like the cadence of a civil war. It's not. You're not going to be able to stamp it and say it's a civil war. They're going to give it another name, another approach to it, another verbiage to it. But it's going to be like that.
They said that the Italians are going to show the French how to do revolution right.
Yeah, I could see
it has to do with
a situation rising up. And maybe that's why you got to figure they show it to me in pictures. How do they show it to you? Do they show it to you in pictures or do you hear it?
I see pictures, and then I also sometimes I get clairaudience. And then other times, and it's also knowings as well. And then also it doesn't hurt that I have a background in financial services because I know all of that stuff. So when I see the thing with Italy is going to be caused by Deutsche Bank. Like I saw a building falling down. One of our very psychic people in Discord, she's made a guess that, and she actually guessed the number of patrons that we would have by June 1st. They have a little contest with all the people who are trying to practice their gift. And she got it right. She gets a lot of stuff right. But she said June 18th for Deutsche Bank to collapse. And I was thinking like the week of July the 4th, because I see like the first week of July and I saw this great big building falling down. So I did see something, but it's like, well, how did you know what it was? And I was like, well, you know, I feel that it's Deutsche Bank. And I do see that Italy is going to be the first one affected, but they're going to tell the EU to stuff it. Like they already told them the gold is for the Italians. That doesn't belong to the central banks. It belongs to the Italian people. Like, whereas France, Macron has not been serving his people, right? He's been serving the elites of Europe, whereas the Italian president is telling the elites where they can stick it, right? So that's what I mean about the Italians showing the French how to do revolution right. Because when you've got a strong leader in place that will defend the people and their rights and look after them, because that has not been going on in Europe for a very long time. And and you guys are into full-blown crazy in July with your politicians. I think James Comey is going to get arrested first. I said he was on the back of the line. I said, oh, I saw over 100 people getting arrested. A lot of them are like California politicians, people in the media. I didn't even talk about your State Department. I thought it was a slip of the tongue when I said it the other day. And then I saw on the news that the State Department is actually involved as well. Like there's people there. Right. So I was like, oh, that wasn't a slip of the tongue, because I'm not American, so I don't know exactly everything. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm not American either. I'm getting my citizenship in July. So everybody pray that I pass the test. I'll dual citizen with New Zealand and America. So I'm not really that much into politics, because it gives me a bad taste. So I really don't like getting into that vibration. Do you know what I mean? It's really hard for me. It's even hard for me to watch it on TV. Just like, oh, because I see everything.
Yeah, I was wondering why none of the mediums in the States saw Donald Trump becoming the president. And I saw that when he was running as a Republican. I was like, oh my gosh, and he's going to do wonderful things for the American people. And he's all for, like, I just saw him, like, in everything I saw and everything that he's doing. I was telling people when he like canceled the meeting with Korea, and I was like, or with North Korea, because they got mouthy or something. And I was like, oh, he's just getting a reaction from them. I said, that meeting, that's going to be on, and they're not even going to change the date. And that's exactly how it went down. Right. So,
you're probably really better, people with political things would be connected to you more. Cause like I said, I don't really get into that, because it's really hard for me to get into that space, because I feel like I see more than what people, you know what I mean? I'm seeing everything, and I'm like, I don't want to see all that stuff. But what was I going to say? Now I forgot.
I was just going to say, you don't always choose, right? Sometimes you can, like you said, everyone has different jobs. So
everybody has a different,
it's not part of your job that you're here for.
There's billions and billions of people in the world, and just one psychic can't do it all, even though there's psychics that compete with you all the time. I get that a lot. So people are asking about earthquakes in California, which is funny, because yesterday, and a lot of people, we've been feeling really kind of off, and I've been really tired. Usually when an earthquake happens, I'll feel it in my stomach. I don't feel good, or I want to sleep, or I feel a lot of things. Well, yesterday we were sitting here in Oxnard, and all of a sudden we felt this, and my husband's like, I think that's not an earthquake. And it was an earthquake. So people are asking about earthquakes, and I'm thinking, when the earth is moving as much as it is and shifting, it'll affect us. It affects the economy. It affects people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And it's just a ripple effect. And so I feel that, yes, there's going to be quite a few more earthquakes in California. Do you sense any place where you think it is? I'm sensing by San Diego, more to the west, more to the east of it. See, I got to look. They made me look. So I'm like looking over there, more to the east of that. I feel like there's supposed to be a major one for Washington, the state of Washington and Oregon. It just hasn't erupted yet. They keep on showing me this thing, and I'm wondering if it's because people's vibrations have been changing, and they're like, oh no, we're working for the earth. It can change the vibration in the earthquake. What do you think?
Well, I actually had to calm a lot of people down who had readings with me in California. And I said to them, yes, there's going to be earthquakes here and there, but there's not going to be this big one. And the big one's coming, but it's not coming for you guys. It's more in Northern California that you'll have the effects because it's going to, I believe that they told me it's the Juan de Fuca, which is between Washington State and British Columbia, Canada.
See, I keep on seeing that. I've been seeing that for so many years, and I keep on putting it in my prediction. So I'm seeing the same thing as you
Yeah,
are. I don't know. I'm not saying, oh, I want it to happen, but I
no.
just keep on seeing it's there that we got to worry about more than here.
Well, and here's the thing, right? And what I'm telling people is like, no, it's the Juan de Fuca, it's not the San Andreas. And I know you people have watched a lot of disaster movies, but it's not going to happen like that. So what I
Yeah,
say
no.
is if people make sure that they have, it's more going to be the destruction and people are not necessarily going to be killed in it because it's going to be more of an up and down rather than a rolling, right? Because there's different types of earthquakes,
Right,
right? And it's the one, it's the less destructive, it's the less destructive for human life, I guess is the
right,
best way to describe what happens at the Juan de Fuca. But you don't have this big, like California's, none of it's going to slide into the ocean or any of that going on. It's just that it's going to wreck a lot of stuff, mainly for Washington State. And it's Oregon is below that, right? Oregon, Washington,
yeah,
Oregon, and then California. So it's like Northern California is more, I'm going to be more exposed to that ruckus. But that's going to be, I believe, the strongest earthquake. But you guys in Los Angeles, that area, like you're San Diego, like you're going to get earthquakes like you always do because it's an earthquake area.
right. But see, I feel like east of San Diego, like you said, where it's more, yeah, there's people out there, but it's not like the city. And I feel like it's on the east of it, and I'm seeing it being really rolling. And I mean, San Diego will feel it, maybe even the lower part between LA and San Diego. Some of those people will feel it, and there's been already some good earthquakes, happening underneath. But I feel like it's more away from the people than in this city. So someone said that Nostradamus, or whatever way you want to say his name, the Dutch, uh, my family's from Holland too, predicted a major earthquake in Northern California and Washington in 2019. So maybe that's the one that we're seeing or feeling.
Because like I said, that was the area I was seeing, and just something. I'm not, again, the same way I'm not a physician, but I can still describe to somebody what's going on with them physically. I can
Right.
guess with the geological stuff that it's the Juan de Fuca, but the area is like I wouldn't buy a house in Washington State right now just because, like I said, the damage is going to be the big problem.
Right. It's funny because my prediction of 2019, I said there was going to be a new species of the whale. It looks like the orca, and it happened on the Washington coast. And believe it or not, and when I ask Spirit, like, why did you give me that kind of prediction? Why does people want to know if there's a new breed of orcas or a new breed of whales? But it did. It happened through Washington. So that's why I'm saying it's really hard for me to explain this, but I feel that the people can make that earthquake less if they were in the vibration of wanting to send. I know this sounds really woo wooey, but sending the vibration of like acknowledging the new orcas, the new whales, the sea animals, the sea creatures, and acknowledging that and bringing that forward, because I feel that the earthquake will be in the ocean more than on the land, but it will affect the land because of the waves and the tsunamis and the wind and all that stuff. So I feel that if you live on the coast of Washington or Oregon, I would get the wind protection. I would get you know what I mean, the wave water insurance. I'd get the whole shebang so that you're protected, because Katrina, when they had their big thing, they were saying it was the wind and that your insurance doesn't cover it. You know what I mean? That kind of bull crap that people do. So, but like I said, someone said there was earthquakes in Cleveland just a couple of days ago, and I predicted that too, that the Midwest or the middle part of the states was going to get earthquakes. I'm also seeing earthquakes by New York and Canada. So that's kind of close to you, isn't it, up there? or you're a little bit more east or whatever. But I see earthquakes up there are supposed to happen, and they're supposed to be bigger. But we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? See if it works or not. So
Yeah.
we only have a couple minutes left because I don't want to do it too much longer. So let's talk about what we were going to talk about with the psychics. We probably have to have another show on that. But what's your comments on about that? About a true psychic or a medium or connecting with that?
I get a big kick out of people sometimes where they've been duped by somebody or somebody's tried to charge them for a reading and they're not a real medium.
Right.
And I went to a doctor's office, and when I went in to talk to the nurse, I actually connected her with a dog that she had to put down. Right. And I described the dog and the circumstances and stuff. So she knew it was for real. And then she said to me, "Oh, can I tell so-and-so, who was the secretary?" And she goes, "She's right into this." Well, anyways, I said, okay. There was nobody around. The secretary proceeded to tell me how this man that was, selling himself as a medium, that she said that her friend had booked the appointment and her friend has the name in it. Anyways, he had very plainly Googled her friend. And when she was sitting there during the reading, he was saying things that he would have said if he had Googled her friend. You know what I mean? Like very specific stuff. And so she was upset about that. And I explained to her, I said, "You know what?" I said, "I think that the man you're talking about," because I saw him and because I was trying to find out if there was anybody around in my area who did this. And there really isn't. But I did see one person, and I kind of got the information that he wasn't a real medium. And I think that a lot of people, Debbie, are psychic and they're just really, really good psychics. And then they get confused and think that they're a medium. But I mean, they never really had anyone teach them and say, this is really what your gift is. Because like you said, everybody's different.
Yeah, everybody has a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had it where I was doing a reading, and I'm not going to say, because I don't believe in dark entities, and that pisses a lot of people off. That's Hollywood to me. I passed, I was on the other side. They showed me, that's my truth, and that's my perception, because everybody has their own perception of the world. I don't believe in dark entities. I don't believe that you can have a dark entity attached to you unless you're willing, you want one. Sure, yeah. Go ahead, let it come on in. I feel like people that do ghost hunts and they're like, "I'm seeing a shadow." Yeah. Is there shadow people? Yes. But that doesn't mean that it's a dark entity and it's going to attach you. And people will go, "Well, they scratched me." I'm like, "You're going around. Give me a sign. Tell me you're there." Blah, blah, blah. You were bugging the spirit to do something. Then it scratches you. And then it's like, "You're evil." And the poor thing is like, cry many sakes. What do you want? But that's my opinion. But anyways, I had someone Google my name, or it was because Debbie is such too common of a name. So they did a psychic Debbie that was in the LA area. And this lady's like, "Oh, you have dark entity on you and you need to pay me $5,000 to get rid of it. And it's like $1,000 a month to continue so that you don't have this art." And she knew, she was intuitive enough. Like you said, some of them use the intuitiveness in the wrong way or the right way. And she was intuitive enough to know that the person has gone through a depression or whatever, so that they're wanting to get rid of this depression. So they said it was a dark entity instead of saying, you should be depressed because so-and-so died. You had 3 people die in a month. And, because of the real reasons, right? Yeah. So when I talked to the person, I'm like, "No, that wasn't me. I would never do that." But, and that no one can take a curse off of you or charge so much money. And like you said, when the guy Googled, I mean, how in the heck, I don't even have time to breathe sometimes, let alone Google and memorize, reading after reading after reading of who you are. And the information that I get is, there's no way that you would know about it, because like I said, I work on blockages. I wouldn't know what happened to you when you're 8 or 12 or 14 or something. And it's not going to be on Google. Do you know what I mean? So that's how you can kind of tell if someone is more legit or being more of a intuitive or medium, is that they're going to bring up information that there's no way you could Google it, or there's information, or they're having a little bit of a knowing that maybe you just had happened to you yesterday, or you're going to be doing tomorrow, where you haven't Googled or put pictures on it. So I don't know, what's a idea for you that you would say to help? Word of mouth is a good way of connecting. Word of mouth. What else do you think is a good way to connect or know if someone's being true or not?
Well, the great thing about YouTube is that, you can go through their videos and you can tell if they're just talking in general sense. I think that a lot of people, like you said, who are highly intuitive or they're very psychic and they want to sort of take that next jump to being a medium just because of the pay grade, right? Because there's so few people who can do that specifically. And it is much more helpful if you can, like I tell people, boy, if I was just psychic, that would drive me crazy because sometimes I can't figure out what I'm grabbing out of the ethos, right? Like that's what I explain to people. I said, psychic, you're not communicating with a living being, you're just grabbing it out of the ethos, right? Whereas as a medium, we're actually speaking with. So it's like, if you can't figure something out, they'll actually tell you it's blah, blah, blah. Sometimes where they can just add dummy at the end of it. I'm not getting it right. And I'm like, oh man, of course, right? I showed me that. I knew, why didn't I put two and two together? Duh. And then they audibly tell me that. And I'm just like, oh, dummy. I'm so stupid sometimes.
But yeah, well, whatever I connect with, the spiritual realm, is it your vibration and my vibration and the truth, the highest sense? That's what I think. But I call them spirits, or I call them they, and people are like, who are they? And I'm like, I don't know, the peanut gallery. I have no idea. But they're really, excuse my language, they're very anal. They're very AAA personality. And I did that today, where been doing a lot of talking. So excuse me if my voice sounds a little today. But they were like asking me a certain question, kind of like you with the Civil War, is like, well, you have to ask it a different way. Do you know what I mean? Because the truth, it's not going to be vague. My answers aren't vague. It's like, I need to know the direction of what you're trying to get from that question, because there could be so many different answers, not a vague answer, but a true answer. And so when I connect to spirit, then I know I'm connected to them when they're like, no, that's not the answer. It's not going to work. You can tell them that, but it's not going to work, and they're not going to be happy with it. So it's kind of like hearing it, but knowing it. And then when I get off the readings, and I'll go to people and I go, have I done a reading for you before? And they're like, I've had 5 readings with you. I'm like, oh, sorry. Because I forget, because I'm channeling the information. Do you know what I mean? I don't remember anything.
I know what you mean.
Anything.
And I'm really glad for the people I have on my Discord channel who are the Patreon members, because they actually keep track of a lot of that stuff, and they have put together a channel. It's called The Hits, and they actually keep track of stuff that I've talked about and how it's happening.
Fantastic. Yeah. I need to do a follow-up on my predictions, because a lot of that has happened, but I need to do the same thing. But it's kind of like, or I'll have people, I had one person, and if they're watching, I won't say their name, but I said that they were living in Texas. Hello, Texas again. They were living in Texas. And I said, a reading before, I think it was in April. And I said, no, I see Colorado with you. I see you working in Colorado. I don't see Texas. I'm sorry. Texas is, the vibration for Texas it's done. And so what happened was they got a job offer from Colorado. So they were like, okay, Debbie, you were right. We got a job. Then they called it off. They called up the person and said, we're sorry, forget it. We don't need you. And so they were going to go to me and say, you were wrong, da, 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 da. And so I just had a reading with them a couple of days ago. And the day before the reading, you may remember, people have to schedule ahead for me.
Right.
The day before the reading, the company again said, oh, by the way, we want you back, and you're going to work in Colorado. So the person was going to say to me, well, see, you're wrong. And I'm like, usually my spirit that I connect with are really good with timelines, even though there is no time. But sometimes it's for a year, in the future or in the past. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not always at the exact time that we say of the connection there. And that, to me, if someone can tell you a a timeline and say it's going to be da, 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 or be really kind of good at it, or knowing. They're just having a knowing. If they say, oh no, because we're going to move, like I knew a family that was going to, they said they were going to move into their house in the fall. And I said, no, I don't see them moving in until March. And everybody else was like, what? You're nuts. That's like 6 months later. And I said, no, I'm seeing it not working out the way it's supposed to be. The house isn't going to be built. They're not going to get in until March. They were supposed to be in August. They didn't get in until March. You know what I mean? It was just crazy how the timeline, spirit is connected more to the timeline than we are. Yeah. And I feel that if you can connect with someone that doesn't agree with everything that you're saying, then I feel like they're more of a truthful person. If it's like, no, I think it's John instead of Jim, and they're like, oh yeah, it must be John. It must be John. I don't think they're that true of us, an intuitive person, right? Because if it's like, if you get the information, don't you just go,
oh yeah, that was like, because sometimes people will deny it. Like I tell people the story all the time about just being at the drugstore to buy some makeup, and this woman had this ghost friend who was hanging out, who wanted to say hello, and they worked together. Like she's like 70 years old, and he told me they worked together like 50 years ago. And I mean, I don't want to mention the name of the store, but let's make one up and say she used to work at Woolworths, right?
Okay.
And when I went to her, and she didn't know what I was, she didn't know who I was. I had never seen her before. We never spoke. And I was talking to her, and I said to her, oh, did you used to work at Woolworths? Right. And that was the store that had closed, let's pretend, a few years ago. Right. And then she was looking at me, and she actually lied to my face and said, no, I worked at, the shoe company. Right. But the ghost was telling me that she's looking at me, and she doesn't realize, she's saying that woman is too young to have known that I worked at Woolworths, because that was 50 years ago.
Right.
And that's how I knew I was reading her mind. And then I said to her, and then I asked her if she knew what mediums were. And then I told her, I said, there's a man and he said, and she's like, yes, she goes, I used to work there. I said, but you thought I was too young to know. It's actually a man that's talking to me. This was after she told me that she agreed that there were people who could talk to people who had passed on. And when I described him to her, her eyes lit up. Like then she realized who he was. Yeah.
It's fantastic. So do you think people, we're kind of going over time here. I hope nobody minds. Do you think, I got these little loop-de-loops. They're like, wee, let's have fun. It's like my hair's all, but anyways, do you think that there's people that are reading minds, or do you think there's people, or you're listening to the spirit?
The spirit. That's how, like, he was telling me what was in her head.
Okay. Because right, because I did a reading for somebody, and I think they were in New Zealand. I forgot where they were from, but I was doing a reading for somebody, and I said, oh, you're going to do your company for, say until you're 70. And the person didn't do an expression of like, they were just, and I said, you're not going to be working in it. You're still going to have your company. You're going to run it. I said, I get it that you want to retire in a couple of years. And he's like, what? And he's like, are you reading my mind? And I said, no, I'm not reading your mind. I'm not reading you. I'm not reading, because he didn't do an expression. He just, you could tell that he was going to be one of those people that was like, I'm not going to show you anything. Right. They question you. They trick you. They try to, and I'm thinking, really, you want to pay me that much money to try to trick me and see if I'm any good? I don't know if that's,
or they play games. They play games. I'm like, oh, are we playing a game?
Right.
Am I supposed to guess? Is that, I tell them, look, I'm not that kind of medium. If I need to do something specific, they'll give it to me. But in the same way that I just won't conjure the lottery numbers. I mean, but I do get dates, I do get ages of people, like where somebody wants to talk about, their stepdaughter, and I'm like, oh, is she a waitress? Oh, yes, she is. Okay, good. I got the right person then, right? Or I just or exactly what their vocation is, and then you're confirming that you're connecting, you're seeing the right person, because you don't want to give them the wrong information about, oh, sorry, that wasn't your brother, that was your father. I was,
Right. Well, see, me, I do like, I will ask the person their first name. I don't want their last name. And then I'll say, what's their age? And I'm doing a remote viewing class next Thursday. You guys should join on it. It's only $44, and I'll show you how to do some predictions and psychic work. So if you want to do that, psychicdebbie.com, book a reading, and it's right there. It's only $44. But anyways, when I ask a person their name and their number, their age, what it does, first of all, the spirits will get me in the timeline of what vibration you're at and what path you're supposed to be on. Then second of all, it's kind of like, I don't really do remote viewing. In my class, I'm doing the structure, and then I'm doing the psychic remote viewing. But it gives me, when you give me your age, it's kind of like, it turns on a light for me. It's kind of like, oh, it's like I'm seeing your path, and it's like, bink, a little like Christmas light turns on and goes, I'm over here. I already went through all that. Do you know what I'm saying? And people will go, well, why would you give me why do you want me to work so much harder and waste more time trying to figure out your name and your age? Just give it to me, and then I'll give you all the other information, right? Yeah. So some people work that way. Some people like to guess the person's name or age or what they're doing or whatever. But to me, because I feel like mine is more, that's the way I work, and you probably work differently. I see a person's path because I see the story around a person all the time. And I'm not reading your mind, but I'm seeing stories. I'm seeing the vibration and the frequency around you. And like I said, when you say your name and then you say your age, like I said, it's all of a sudden it's like, bloop, and it makes me get right into that space. So that time, and it's like I can look around and go, oh, this and this and that's going on. Oh, you just went through 2 years of this, or you're going through this, or it's kind of crazy how that works, but I love it. I love it. It's just like, pop. Okay. It's just kind of like finding missing people. It's the same thing. I have to say, what's their first name, their age, and the very last place that anybody saw them. And a lot of times I'll go on Google Earth, and my husband will help me sometimes on that. And I'll be like, okay, this is where they said and then the person will show me and go, okay, I walked this way. I was going home, but I took a different route and I went that way. You know, it's kind of crazy how that works, but if you put a number into it. So like you're working with cryptos, that you obviously are working with numbers, right? I don't work with numbers in that way. I work with numbers on a person, but you work with numbers in the coins. Isn't that kind of crazy? So it's the same thing, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is you have to go with what your assignment is. Like, for example, if I hadn't been told that I could work in cryptocurrencies using my gift, oh, I definitely would not, because the way I looked at it is that, you know, you're taking advantage, and that would be something that would distract you from serving people. You know, if you're using your gift like to earn money like that, like to gamble, but it's not like that. They explained that it's different. They said that this is a once in a lifetime. In fact, back in 2008, it would have been better if the financial system had collapsed back then, but the world just wasn't ready for the Great Awakening because the internet wasn't as advanced as it needed to be all over the world. And also the cryptocurrencies weren't ready yet. Like you need to have a backup system once the corruption's all going to fall down now, right? And it's going to start in America, and it's going to spread, because not the corruption, but it being overcome and swept away, and people are going to be put in jail and everything. So, you know, lots of good things are coming for the world, and it all has to do with, you know, the Great Awakening and people becoming aware of themselves. So I think that, Debbie, people like you and me are going to be very busy in the coming year or two, because the vibrations are going up, and there's a lot of people who are seeing and hearing things similar to what we would have experienced when we were younger. And it never happened to them as often, but now it's happening all the time. And I think that it has to do with that, and that, you know, both you and I would be great resources when we run across anybody who's having those kinds of situations come up.
Right. I mean, most people are born with it. It's kind of like sight, But it's kind of like a person that can play the piano really well, and then the other person, can't, but we can play the piano. We can go ding, ding, ding. And I feel like we were born with our abilities. That's our truth, or whatever you want to call it. I always kind of put in the thing too, where people are saying, why don't you give it away for free? And I'm saying, well, Mariah Carey's got a beautiful gift of singing, and she's a multi-millionaire, or Oprah is good at talking, and she's a billionaire. And so, I mean, and to me, it's like receiving and giving. I could, this is a whole nother story too, but we, when you do readings, when you're paying for someone, like I said, a lot of times it's more confirmation of where you're going in the right direction. And if it's going to make your life easier and it's going to help you with more ease, because I'll never tell anybody what to do. I'll say this and this and this is going to happen if you go that way, and that's going to happen if you go that way. So that's your choice. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I know that's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And so to me, it's like, why not? If it's going to make your life more at ease, kind of like you with crypto, you're saying, hey, it's going to make your life more at ease, or it's going to give you greater prosperity. Why wouldn't you want to buy it? But everybody has their choice and whatever. So let's do some last minute talk here, because we got to get off, because otherwise we could talk for hours and hours. So we'll have to just do another show down the road here. But so what's some last words for you, Samantha? What do you want to say?
Well, it's going to be a great summer, and I am looking forward to the fall in cryptocurrencies and everything. And it's going to be a little bit of crazy time, but don't worry, everything is going to be okay. I don't want people to have too much anxiety about stuff. Everything is going to work out just fine. It's really, things are not as bad as what people are thinking. And the other thing too is that this is a great way for humankind to start acting more in a subservient way to one another. Because when people are in trouble and you have these big blow ups like what you're predicting with the weather, I mean, then all of a sudden, people are forgetting about the pettiness, and what sign is on the bathroom and all these stupid things people are fighting about. And sometimes I look at it and I'm like, yeah, maybe we do need a really great big war, right? Because all the stupid things people are fighting about. Oh, I'm like, like, oh my goodness, enough. But that's all going to be washed away, and people are going to be more focused on pulling together and helping one another. Because, if you have an earthquake, for example, that doesn't have a high fatality rate, but a lot of stuff is wrecked and other things are not wrecked, well, the people who have stuff where they didn't get wrecked, they need to help those who did have things wrecked. And there's going to be like this generosity and this outpouring. So I just wanted to leave on a positive note and say, don't worry, be happy.
And so if people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
The email is the best way, SamanthaJaneJames@mail.com. And if you want to trip on over to Samantha Jane on YouTube, just search Samantha Jane Psychic Crypto Medium, and you'll see my mug come up.
Okay. So, and for me, if you want to get a reading from me, it's psychicdebbie.com, real simple. Click on psychic reading or phone reading or even email. If you want to go into and be on do my class, the remote viewing or the psychic spy class, which will be June 20th, next Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, go to my website, psychicdebbie.com, book a reading. And it will be, and then you click on it and it will be the very first thing on there. It's only $44. I mean, come on, people. It's not that much at all. So someone said, Debbie, where's the $44 time sign up? If you click on the 44, we'll give you all the information for the class and all that stuff. We'll send it to you. It will be Facebook. It will be a Facebook group class. So we'll do a lot of interaction. So thank you again, Samantha. This was really wonderful. Like you said, we could talk for hours and hours and hours, and this was a lot of fun. I hope you had a good time. And thank you so much for telling us about crypto and how to connect with it and how to connect with you and the good fortune that's going to come out of it. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
And thank you for hanging out.
Yeah, same here. So I want to give everybody blessings and smiles. I'll see you next Tuesday. Hopefully the computer works then. I'll give you blessings and smiles, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. Let me see if I'm clicking on the right thing here. Stop live stream. Okay, bye.